I think the obvious fight I'm going to get out there is Tyson Fury. It's been spoke about for so long now. We've been up and down this year of thinking whether the fight's going on or not, and hearing dates and hearing locations, and it's close now. It's not now. It's not happening. It's going to happen in July. Now it's not going to happen until October. Now it's not happening until next year. Just get the fight made. Just it's been spoke about, not even just recently, for years upon years upon years, to the point where this fight was spoke about for undisputed at one point. Now it's more just a legacy fight. They've both fought some of the greatest of their era. Just go out and have two fights. But if these two fights can be just two fights between them, happy days. Even if it's a really one-sided first fight, give them a second fight anyway, because it's what they deserve. I think the names that we're seeing linked with this two-fight deal, though, I read an article on Boxing Scene, and it was Dillian Whyte and Jared Anderson as the names linked in the deal. And I don't know, Dillian Whyte, sure, again, it's not quite Tyson Fury, but there's a selling point to that fight. There's history between the two, which I don't mind. Jared Anderson, I really don't know where that's come from. I don't know why they think it's a good fight to make, or what is there to gain from beating Jared Anderson, especially when the one time he did step up properly. I know he's fought likes of Charles Martin and everything, but fought a live Martin Bakole. He got dominated. That's the only way to go about it. He got dominated. I'm not too sure what there is to gain unless they just see that as the confidence builder fight. But can you look at someone like Jared Anderson and say, yeah, he's just a confidence builder, when we don't know what we're going to expect from Jared Anderson if that fight is to get made? I doubt that does happen. But yeah, I'm intrigued by the two fights they've said, unless they're just throwing them out there to distract us that the Fury fight might be getting made, and they've just thrown those two names in the mix. I don't know. I'd like to see the Fury fight, but I think we'll probably see Dillian Whyte first, then Fury, if AJ gets through Dillian.
Let me throw some names at you, Josh. We'll get a hot take from you whilst you react to these names. So let's start off with Zhilei Zhang. That was a fight that was rumored for many of years. A lot of talk about it happening maybe in China and things like that, but that doesn't seem likely. But Zhang has said that he's going to return to the ring. Would you like to see AJ in with Zhilei Zhang?
I'd be interested in that fight, yeah. I think there's a good selling point to it. We know what they both bring. I'd happily watch that fight.
AJ in with his good friend, but looking for a 50th and final fight, Derek Chisora?
I'd like it for Derek, because you'll get a great payday to go out on, but there's the health implications. There's a lot. AJ's not exactly got pillow fists. He's probably one of the most devastating punches in the division still, so not too sure on that one. If it gets made, I wouldn't moan too much, but there's better fights out there and definitely more safer fights for Derek to take.
In against, off of the back of a victory over Joe Joyce, Filip Hrgović.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
In against British compatriot Lawrence Okolie.
No, I'd like to see Okolie face Dillian Whyte instead before he starts going for those top dogs. I would, again, I'd be slightly interested, but not as interested as I am with other names.
A 2-fight deal that, off of the back of the surgery, we're hearing that AJ won't be out until later on this year, but returning, I think, this month in a fight that, when I spoke to Richard Torres, who'd fought Tyler Herndon, said he will probably get through Tyler Herndon. Deontay Wilder, we'll see if he's got anything left against Herndon, but a much talked about fight, rewind 4 or 5 years ago. This was one of the fights, if not the fight to make, with Tyson Fury is still out of the picture. What about AJ and Wilder?
Yeah, again, spoke about for too long now. We're hearing that Wilder's in a good place again. He's refound confidence when I spoke to his trainer, Malik Scott. So yeah, see how Wilder looks at the end of the month against Herndon. And if all goes well, then sign me up for AJ versus Wilder, because I think that fight is very likely to happen if all goes well.
And I got 2 last names for you. The one fight that never was, because, well, maybe people will be annoyed at me for pitching this name because of his reputation outside of the ring, but Jarrell Miller, that was a feisty feisty back and forth between the two of them, but never materialized. And Andy Ruiz got the opportunity of a lifetime and left his mark on the sport. But what about AJ and Jarrell Miller?
I'd be up for that just because I know there's still bad blood there. It'd be a really heated, interesting, engaging build up. And we know what Jarrell Miller brings and we know what AJ brings, so I think it'd make for a good fight on the night as well. So if we can get that fight, sign me up. That's definitely higher up the list than a lot of the fights that have been mentioned here.
And the final name, I wonder where this features on your list. The trilogy. The first fight was an epic. The second fight wasn't as much of an epic, but that leaves the third one to be made, and that is Andy Ruiz. There's history between the two of them.
I don't think there's as much interest for that one. I'm just seeing what we've seen from Andy Ruiz as of late. Nah, not right now. Maybe Andy needs to come back and build up some good wins, but I don't think he beat Jarrell Miller, or even deserves a draw against Jarrell Miller last year. If Andy can come back and rack up some good wins, go for it. But right now, I think Andy Ruiz is completely out of the picture right now. I don't think there's anyone really screaming and begging for an Andy Ruiz return.
I think that with Anthony Joshua coming back, I think that's a lot of... I think it gives a boost to the heavyweight division because of his standing and what he brings to the sport. But not only that, in terms of the eyes he brings, I wonder that, and I imagine that a lot of the heavyweights would be happy that he is coming back and there is fights on the table for him, because he is one of the money makers, movers and shakers in the division. Him and Tyson Fury probably are the money right now with respect to the current title holders in Dubois and Alexander Usyk. I think if contenders could pitch themselves against fighters and say they had a belt as well too, they'd want it to be someone like a Fury fighting for a belt against them, or fighting against Joshua if they had the belt too. And if not, maybe take that money as well too, because they've got to make the money in the sport as well. So I think a lot of the contenders and holders of titles will be very happy with that. And I think obviously the heavyweight division is in a state of waiting, that not quite limbo, but that wait for the undisputed titles or the undisputed match to take place has happened. The rematch has happened now, and now the defense of that undisputed titles with Daniel Dubois to recreate undisputed heavyweight champion for the second time, whether it be Usyk or Dubois, is also going to happen. And the status of those titles, don't know what the status is. We imagine with Alexander Usyk saying that he's got 2 fights left and this is one of them, and he wants to pitch himself against either Fury or Joshua. I wonder why that is. Not just because of the money as well too, but legacy is wrapped into that, as well as the history. But there is also the monetary factor to it. But that's going to take place as well. And then you're talking about 1 or 2 fights, and then where did the belts go? And you have people like Parker waiting, Ajit Kabial's waiting, Kurat Pulev holds a piece of the title. That means there's opportunities for titles to be grabbed for. And the likes of Joe Parker, I imagine, would like to have it. I think he'd fight at a push. He'd fight Tyson Fury because he was a replacement opponent. I believe it was stated or reported that he was for the Dylan White fight if White didn't turn up for any reason. But Joe Parker, I think, would have loved a slice of avenging his defeat to Anthony Joshua, especially with a belt, if the belt was on the line as well too. And then Ajit Kabial has been a person who's been waiting for his opportunities and has been impressing at every opportunity. Will be someone who would also look to pitch himself against AJ. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for world titles or fights with world title implications to take place for Anthony Joshua. But let me know in the chat as well too what you would like to see from AJ and whether you think Anthony Joshua could still contend at the highest level. That means, not just contend, but actually win a world title. A lot of people want to have conversations within the industry. A lot of people feel that Joshua's done a lot of bouncing between trainers. He's now with Ben Davison, but been with Robert Garcia and a number of other trainers as well too. Derek James is the one that was escaping my mind, but I just picked up now. But James, Garcia, Ben Davison, a lot of people felt that he'd done his best under Robert McCracken. Maybe might not pick a world title since leaving Robert, and also because the heavyweight division has moved on. But let me know what you think in the chat.